You've worked hard, set goals, said the affirmations, tried to stay positive, and yet something still feels off. Like life is happening around you, not through you. Like you're playing a game, but no one ever gave you the rules. That quiet confusion, you're not alone, because most of us were never shown how this works. We were told to try harder, think bigger, be better, but no one ever explained how reality actually responds to us. What if it's not random? What if there is a system? A hidden logic running behind everything you see, think, and feel ancient, simple, powerful. And what if you've always been a part of it? This is where the Kybalion begins, not with blind belief, but with awareness. Not with a map of the outside world, but with a key to the inner one. So if you've ever felt lost in a life that doesn't quite fit, this isn't the end. It might just be the beginning. Maybe you've been there. You've set your goals, repeated your affirmations, tried manifesting, meditating, visualizing. You've listened to podcasts, read the books, followed the advice of spiritual mentors. And still something feels off. Like life is happening around you, not through you. Like you're trying to hack a system no one ever taught you the rules for. That's the exact moment when the first principle of the Kybalion quietly taps you on the shoulder. It doesn't yell. It doesn't preach. It whispers, everything is mind. Mentalism, the idea that the universe, the entire universe, is mental. Not just that thoughts matter or that mindset is important, but that reality itself is a projection of consciousness. Your consciousness, you don't have to believe it, but just try noticing. Notice how your inner weather colors your outer world, how a bad mood makes the traffic worse, how fear seems to call in more fear, how resentment seems to create more reasons to feel resentful. How your most private thought somehow shapes your most public moment. It's not magic, it's resonance. You're not reacting to reality, you're creating it. Not in some abstract, cosmic sense, but here. In your home, your relationships, your money, your body, your breath. The principle of mentalism isn't some ancient mystic code you need to decode, it's a mirror. It's the realization that everything out there is quietly echoing what you've accepted in here. And here's where things get real. Try this at the end of today, sit down and reflect. Write down the 3 strongest emotional moments you experienced. They could be small. Frustration at a late email, jealousy from a friend's success, sadness while scrolling on your phone. Then ask, what belief did I hold in that moment? You might find beneath each reaction a silent program running. I don't matter. I'm not safe. Everyone leaves. These aren't truths. They're old recordings and you've been playing them on repeat without even realizing. But the moment you see them, something shifts. You're no longer the puppet, you're the puppeteer. The director, the origin. This is why people say awareness changes everything. Not because it magically fixes your life, but because it puts the pen back in your hand. Suddenly, you're not just reacting to scenes, you're rewriting the script. And when your inner script changes, the scenes outside do too. That's what mentalism really is. Not a theory to believe, but a lens to try on. A shift from why is this happening to me? To what belief created this moment? From what's wrong out there? To what story am I still living in here? Because once you realize your life is the screen and your mind is the projector, you stop waiting for someone else to fix the picture. You pick up the reel. You change the film, not with force, but with awareness. And that awareness is where mastery begins. It's a strange kind of magic, isn't it? You walk into a room where no one says a word, yet somehow you feel judged, or loved, or ignored. You meet someone new, and within seconds, you're triggered by something they say, even if it's innocent. Or you keep bumping into the same types of relationships over and over again, like life is trying to teach you something you keep missing. That's the law of correspondence at work. As within, so without. As above, so below. It sounds poetic, maybe even vague, but it's actually one of the clearest mirrors life gives us. The idea is simple. What's happening outside is a reflection and echo of what's happening inside. If your mind is a canvas, the world is the painting. And every feeling, every conversation, every so-called coincidence, a brushstroke. But here's the part we often miss. It's not about blame. It's about recognition. When something external keeps repeating, whether it's conflict, scarcity, rejection, it's life holding up a mirror. Not to shame you, but to invite you into awareness. You're not being punished. You're being shown. That old argument with your partner, it's showing you where you feel unseen. The colleague who never gives credit, reflecting your own struggle to own your voice. The friend who ghosts you, pointing toward an old fear of abandonment you thought you de-buried long ago. And when you see it, really see it, something inside softens. You stop fighting the external and start listening to it. You begin to ask, what part of me is being mirrored here? That question is the beginning of power. Because the truth is, we don't control other people, or traffic, or timing, but we do control the lens. And when we shift that lens, when we begin to heal the belief beneath the pattern itself starts to dissolve. You don't even have to try to change the outer world. When your inner world changes, the mirror simply reflects it back. Here's a small daily practice. Pick one area of your life that feels stuck: money, love, health, anything. Instead of asking, what's wrong here? Ask, what belief might I be holding that this situation is reflecting? Just explore. Gently. You're not digging for trauma. You're opening a window. And maybe, for the first time, you'll realize this problem has been trying to show you a part of yourself that's ready to be seen. That's the gift hidden inside the law of correspondence. It doesn't just reflect pain, it reflects potential. Because when you truly understand that nothing is random, you stop playing defense. You stop asking the world to behave. You start listening. You start seeing. You start responding not as a victim, but as a conscious participant in your own unfolding. And that awareness, it doesn't just give you peace, it gives you direction. Let's drop the mysticism for a second. When people hear vibration, they often think of something cosmic or strange. Some kind of spiritual static that only the enlightened can tune into. But vibration isn't mysterious. It's actually the most grounded thing about you. You feel it every single day. It's in your breath. It's in the pace of your thoughts when you're anxious. It's in the room when someone walks in and you just know something's off. It's in the music you choose when you want to feel better. It's in the way your dog curls up next to you when you're finally calm after a long day. Vibration is the frequency you're living on even when you're not aware of it. According to the Kybalion, everything vibrates. Nothing rests. The difference between what we call solid, mental, or spiritual is just the frequency of its vibration. That means your thoughts, your emotions, your body, your surroundings, they're all vibrating at some level, constantly broadcasting. So here's the question, what are you broadcasting? And even deeper, what are you tuning into? You can't listen to classical music on a rock station. You can't experience peace while living in a frequency of fear. That's not punishment, that's resonance. But here's the beautiful part, you can shift. You don't need to quit your job, move to the mountains, or delete every toxic number in your phone, though you might want to do some of those eventually. All you need at first is a moment of awareness. Try this. Pause, take a breath. Ask yourself, what does my current vibration feel like? Not what mood you're in, but what it feels like to be you right now. Is it tight, rushed, heavy, soft, clear? Then change the channel. Play music that opens your heart. Sit in stillness for 5 minutes. Put your bare feet on the grass. Watch how your dog breathes. Laugh, cry, breathe with your belly instead of your chest. It doesn't matter how small the act, what matters is the shift. Because once your vibration changes, your perception changes. And once perception shifts, so does experience. This is why you meet someone one day and feel resistance, and the next time, openness. It's why some days feel impossible and others feel fluid. It's not fate, it's not luck, it's alignment. You are not stuck. You're just vibrating in the story of being stuck. But stories can be rewritten. Frequencies can be retuned. And once you realize you're the tuning fork, not the noise, you stop trying to escape life and start harmonizing with it. You don't need to change your life all at once. You just need to change your state. And the universe, it responds in kind, every time. You wake up late, you spill coffee on your shirt. Someone cuts you off on the way to work. And before you know it, the whole day feels ruined. It's like life pushed one domino and the rest just collapsed on top of you. But what if you could step outside that chain reaction? What if you could stop the domino before it fell? That's what the Kybalion's principle of cause and effect is truly about. Not karma, not punishment, but choice. It says, nothing happens by accident. Every effect has a cause. And here's the kicker, you're not meant to be at the mercy of effects. You're meant to become a cause. But most of us live reactively. Not by intention, but by momentum. Something happens and we react. An email comes in with bad news, we tense up. Someone criticizes us, we shut down or explode. We don't pause. We just respond as if we have no other option. That's not living. That's automation. It's not your fault. The world trains us to react, fast, instantly. But fast doesn't mean conscious, and speed doesn't equal truth. The path to freedom begins with one tiny, radical act. Pause, just pause. The next time you feel triggered, angry, scared, defensive, don't try to fix it, justify it, or hide it. Just pause, breathe, observe. Become the witness, not the reactor. And ask, what is this moment inviting me to become the cause of? Maybe it's asking you to create space, or boundaries, or courage, or a new belief. The moment you stop reacting, you start choosing. And in that choice, you begin to rewrite the script of your life. Cause and effect is not some cold law of physics. It's a doorway. It says, you are not a leaf blown by the wind, you are the wind. You're not powerless. You're just caught in loops you haven't questioned. But once you do, once you realize that the way you respond is the seed for what grows next, you take back authorship. You move from being a character in your story to the one holding the pen. This isn't about perfection. You will still react. We all do. But every time you catch yourself, every time you breathe instead of burst, every time you observe instead of obey, you become more free. And freedom, in this context, is not about escape. It's about presence. You stop chasing control over the external world. You start mastering the only world you ever truly had access to, your own. So the next time the domino starts to tip, remember, you can step in. You can place your hand gently between cause and effect. And you can say, not this time, I choose something else. That's where real power lives, not in controlling others, but in creating yourself. You wake up late, you spill coffee on your shirt. Someone cuts you off on the way to work. And before you know it, the whole day feels ruined. It's like life pushed one domino and the rest just collapsed on top of you. But what if you could step outside that chain reaction? What if you could stop the domino before it fell? That's what the Kybalion's principle of cause and effect is truly about. Not karma, not punishment, but choice. It says, nothing happens by accident. Every effect has a cause. And here's the kicker, you're not meant to be at the mercy of effects. You're meant to become a cause. But most of us live reactively. Not by intention, but by momentum. Something happens and we react. An email comes in with bad news, we tense up. Someone criticizes us, we shut down or explode. We don't pause. We just respond as if we have no other option. That's not living. That's automation. It's not your fault. The world trains us to react, fast, instantly. But fast doesn't mean conscious, and speed doesn't equal truth. The path to freedom begins with one tiny, radical act. Pause, just pause. The next time you feel triggered, angry, scared, defensive, don't try to fix it, justify it, or hide it. Just pause, breathe, observe. Become the witness, not the reactor. And ask, what is this moment inviting me to become the cause of? Maybe it's asking you to create space, or boundaries, or courage, or a new belief. The moment you stop reacting, you start choosing. And in that choice, you begin to rewrite the script of your life. Cause and effect is not some cold law of physics. It's a doorway. It says, you are not a leaf blown by the wind, you are the wind. You're not powerless. You're just caught in loops you haven't questioned. But once you realize that the way you respond is the seed for what grows next, you take back authorship. You move from being a character in your story to the one holding the pen. This isn't about perfection. You will still react. We all do. But every time you catch yourself, every time you breathe instead of burst, every time you observe instead of obey, you become more free. And freedom, in this context, is not about escape. It's about presence. You stop chasing control over the external world. You start mastering the only world you ever truly had access to, your own. So the next time the domino starts to tip, remember, you can step in. You can place your hand gently between cause and effect. And you can say, not this time, I choose something else. That's where real power lives, not in controlling others, but in creating yourself. You've probably heard it before, or maybe even whispered it to yourself in the quiet frustration of another dead-end day. I get it. I understand the principles, but why am I still stuck? That's the secret ache most people don't talk about. You've had the insights. You've felt the shift. You've watched the signs, read the words, followed the guidance. And yet, you're still living in the same job, the same apartment, the same loop. You're not asleep, but you're not moving either. You're awake and stalled. And that's exactly where this part of the journey begins. Because the truth is, you don't need to destroy your life to create a new one. You don't have to quit your job, leave your city, cut off all your relationships, or start from scratch. Most people don't need a total rebuild. They just need a new lens. What's keeping you stuck isn't your life, it's your relationship with it. Your beliefs about it. The quiet stories running underneath the surface, shaping what you think is possible. So instead of changing everything out there, try changing what you're believing in here. Let's say you've been struggling with money. Not because you're lazy or incapable, but because somewhere deep down, a voice still whispers, I never have enough. Every time you try to get ahead, that story reasserts itself, subtly guiding your choices. You sabotage opportunities. You undercharge, you shrink. Not because you want to, but because your vibration is still tuned to scarcity. Now imagine shifting that belief just a little. Not forcing positivity, but beginning to visualize what enough might feel like. What it would feel like to trust money instead of fearing it. To sit in a moment, breathe deeply, and say, "I am open to receive." That's where transformation begins, in small, conscious shifts that gradually reshape how you meet your life. Try this practice. Each morning before the noise starts, sit down with a blank page. Write one line. "If I trusted my life today, I would," and then fill in the blank. Let your hand move before your mind kicks in. No filters, no judgment. Then just do one thing from that list. Maybe it's making a call, maybe it's resting, maybe it's speaking honestly. The action doesn't have to be dramatic, it just has to come from trust. And over time, these small acts start weaving a new reality. A reality that isn't louder but truer. A reality that doesn't need to look different because you feel different inside it. This is how you shift your frequency without needing to burn down what you've built. You keep what matters, you bless what you've outgrown, and you begin to respond to your life not as a prison, but as a practice ground. Because sometimes, stuckness isn't a wall, it's a signal. A quiet nudge to turn inward, to stop chasing outer changes, and to ask the most powerful question of all. What if the shift isn't out there, but already waiting in me? Waking up is only the beginning. If you've made it this far through the insights, the mirrors, the frequency shifts, then you've already done something most people never do. You've seen behind the curtain. But what now? That's the question so many people are quietly asking. Not, what is the Kybalion? But, how do I live this every day without slipping back into autopilot? The truth, awakening isn't a one-time spark. It's a daily practice. And like any practice, it needs rhythm, intention, and space. So let's simplify it. Here's a 7-day framework, one principle each day to keep your consciousness rooted in action, not just awareness. Day 1. Mentalism, what am I thinking into reality? Every morning, before touching your phone, write down the dominant thought that's been shaping your mood. Ask, is this what I want to create today? Then shift. Just one word or phrase that feels truer, more aligned with your deeper self. Repeat it like a quiet drumbeat as you move through the day. Day 2. Correspondence, what is life mirroring back to me? Pick one moment of friction, an annoying conversation, a worry, a disappointment. Pause and ask, what belief or pattern might this be reflecting back at me? Just observe. You're not blaming yourself. You're learning your own language. Day 3. Vibration, what frequency am I tuned into? Use your breath. Set a timer for 3 minutes. Inhale slowly, exhale fully, and with every breath, ask yourself, what does this energy feel like? Then adjust. Listen to music that opens you, take a walk, move your body. Let your vibration become conscious, not accidental. Day 4, polarity, where am I resisting contrast? When something frustrates you today, try this. Instead of pushing it away, ask, what's the opposite of this feeling, and can I find one thread of it right now? If you're anxious, look for a thread of calm. If angry, a thread of peace. You're not denying the feeling, you're expanding the spectrum. Day 5, rhythm, am I flowing or fighting the cycle? Notice the emotional weather. Are you in an up cycle or a dip? Don't label it good or bad, just name it. Then adjust your pace accordingly. Sometimes the most spiritual act is slowing down when everything demands speed. Day 6, cause and effect. Where am I reacting instead of choosing? Pick a common trigger, someone's tone, a delay, a headline. The next time it hits, pause. Don't respond immediately. Instead, breathe and whisper internally, What would I choose here if I wasn't reacting? Then act from that space. Day 7, gender, what energy do I need more of today? Masculine, structure, doing, clarity, or feminine intuition, receiving, softness? Neither is superior. Ask, which energy would support my wholeness today? And then allow yourself to lean into it, whether that's building a schedule or surrendering into stillness. This isn't about perfection. Some days you'll forget. Some days will feel messy. That's not failure, that's feedback. The goal is not to be fully conscious every second. The goal is to return, gently, often, without shame. And as you do, the practice becomes less about effort and more about alignment. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, choose differently, not because you're trying harder, but because you've made awareness your default setting. So when someone asks, what does living by the Kybalion look like in real life? You won't need a complex answer. You'll just smile and say, I practiced today. And in that moment, you'll know, you didn't just understand, you lived it. Somewhere along the line, we were taught to wait. Wait for the right job, the right partner, the right mood, the right sign from the universe to finally take the leap, speak the truth, live the life we sense is waiting on the other side of fear. And while we were waiting, we started shrinking. We stopped creating and started reacting. We stopped leading and started echoing. Echoing opinions, fears, timelines, expectations, none of which truly belong to us. But here's the truth the Kybalion whispers through every principle. You are not the echo. You are the origin, the original wave, the first note, the initiating cause. You don't need permission to step into that power. You only need to remember it. Because reality doesn't respond to wishful thinking. It responds to frequency, to intention, to clarity. And clarity comes when you stop asking the world to go first and decide to move from your own center. This shift is subtle, but everything changes with it. You stop saying, I hope it gets better, and start saying, I'm creating better right now. You stop looking for signs and start becoming one. You stop waiting for peace and begin generating it first in your body, then in your choices, then in your world. That doesn't mean you won't have fear. It doesn't mean the outside world will instantly reshape. But it does mean you'll finally meet life on your feet, not your knees. Because when you act as the origin, every thought, every choice, every breath becomes a signal, not a request, a declaration. I am here, I am choosing, I am creating. And reality begins to echo you. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by a decision or stuck in a loop, or tempted to look outside for answers, pause. Close your eyes, feel your chest rise and fall, and ask, what would the origin do? Then do that, speak the words, set the boundary, release the habit, write the post, start the thing, change the pace, raise the standard, breathe slower, walk taller, because the world doesn't need more echoes. It needs more frequencies that originate from truth, from people who have remembered that they already hold the switch. So no more waiting. You're not the echo anymore. You're the wave that starts it all. You think of a friend you haven't seen in years, and they call you that afternoon. You see the same number again and again on receipts, clocks, license plates. A book finds its way into your hands at the exact moment you need it. It feels random, but it's not. These aren't accidents. These are synchronicities, subtle signals rippling through your reality, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. And once you understand that, the game changes. According to the Kybalion, everything is connected. The inner and the outer, the mental and the material. You're not a passive observer of life's patterns. You're a participant, a generator, a transmitter. Synchronicities are not the universe sending you signs. They're the universe reflecting your current state, your thoughts, your emotional frequency, your beliefs through real-time events. They are the echoes of your own consciousness. So when those signs show up, don't just get excited, get curious. Ask, what was I thinking or feeling before this happened? What am I resonating with right now? What is life trying to mirror back to me? These moments are not meant to be consumed. They're meant to be read. And once you start reading them, a new world opens up, a world where nothing is random, and everything is part of a larger conversation between your soul and your surroundings. Start small. Keep a synchronicity journal. Each night, write down the patterns you notice, the moments that felt too aligned to ignore. It might be a song, a phrase, a look from a stranger, a twist of timing. You'll begin to see a rhythm, a language, and as that language becomes familiar, you'll stop asking whether the universe is listening and start realizing you were the one speaking all along. This isn't magic, it's resonance. When your inner world becomes coherent, your outer world starts to echo it, not because you're forcing it, but because you've finally stopped contradicting yourself. You no longer send out mixed signals. You vibrate with intention. And reality begins to reflect that back through signs, symbols, and perfect timing. So don't dismiss those mysterious signals. Track them, honor them, dialogue with them. Because in a world where most people are waiting for proof before they believe, you'll know something deeper. Synchronicities don't prove anything. They simply remind you that you're already connected, already seen, already part of something greater, and that, maybe, is the greatest wonder of all. The Kybalion doesn't demand belief. It simply invites awareness. It doesn't ask you to be perfect or enlightened, it asks you to look, gently, honestly, from where you are. Not to control every thought or fix every flaw, but to see with new eyes. You don't need to get it all right. You don't need to transform overnight. You don't even need to fully understand how it works. You just need to begin noticing differently. How your emotions shape your perception. How your stories write your tomorrow. How life is quietly responding, not to your wishes, but to your state. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough for now. So take a breath. Let the noise soften. And remember, so long as you're still breathing, you can always begin again from the inside out.